Hello and welcome back to Logical Magic Examining Esoterica. Hey guys, today I have a discussion for you about fate and free will and how your guides can help you with fate and free will, how they can coexist and not cancel each other out, how we still actually are the ultimate determiners of our fate, but things will be brought to us, at which point we will face something called the crossroads, and how our guidance within and sometimes people without, our spiritual guides without, meaning people who do readings, people who deliver angelic messages, like my guest today and like me. My guest today is my friend Rachell Garrett, and she's from AkashicAngels.com. She also helps people with a lot of their crossroads moments, trying to be in highest conjunction with their highest self. And we're going to have a longer discussion because people get very confused. Fate means everything is predetermined, and free will means it's all your choice. But that is not actually what fate means. It means that there is a path that you can take that will lead you towards your highest self and towards the best that you can be and your best and highest level of spiritual enlightenment. The free will comes in from the moment to moment choices, and some things don't involve fate at all. So it's a little bit of a deep discussion, and we're going to get into it. But let's go over to Rachell for a moment. Rachell, hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So you and I both work with helping people find their path towards being in connection with their guides, being in connection with their purpose, finding their ability to have their answers come to them as they need them. Rachell and I just had a weird experience with fate interceding on my behalf to try and keep me from doing something a little bit stupid that I wasn't even thinking about, that would have imperiled some things for both Rachell and I, having to do with some magic that I did. And my guides kept giving me a series of cards trying to tell me to make a different choice. And that's the easiest explanation of how your guides can be like, trying to help you see the road in front of you so that you can choose the best path. But you
Yeah.
want to think about your fateful path not as a straight line, but as something that branches out and comes back and branches out and comes back. You get drawn back to your same fateful timeline over and over again until you make the choice that leads you towards your highest alignment, which is your divine self. And why do we want to do that? It's not because there's something terribly wrong with our shadow side. It's one of the things that helps protect us, helps us understand our natures as well, helps us heal us. It is because it will lead you towards the ability to have a greater access to your higher powers, basically, your intuition, your ability to manifest, as a for instance, when they talk about in the law of attraction, not having darker thoughts, which is not possible until you're all healed. So you have to heal first, and then, the idea of like attracts like, and your thoughts create your reality. If you're working with hidden feelings, hidden emotions, masked emotions, they're still there. They need to be acknowledged, healed, and released. You have to
Yeah.
release the energies around that through understanding and awareness. And then once you've done all your healing work, you can be in conjunction with your highest self. And from your highest self's position is where you can find your fateful path forward towards the best spiritual and physical and emotional experience that you can have within this lifetime. So, Rachell, your feelings on fate versus free will.
I do feel like we kind of come here when we are born into our soul and our life that we have kind of predestined certain events to happen within our life. And maybe it's not events, maybe it's more lessons, like things that we need to heal, things that we need to kind of go through. And I am a believer in if you don't learn it the first time, it's going to get louder and it's going to get louder until it's really going to smack in your face. And it could be something that's positive. It could be something that's you're not ideal situation. And the ways that I kind of help, I kind of feel this out is more like in love situations, not worthy of love, financial situations, maybe not good with money. And I find it interesting because you can see working with clients and my own self, because I do feel like as we work with clients, the things that are within us that need to be healed and looked at, those kind of come to us as clients. And it's interesting how those patterns come to us. And it's like, oh, yeah, maybe I need to do this myself. But it is a gentle reminder. And I would ask you this question. Have you found with your clients that when you have repeat clients, it's like a year later, you're like, you still didn't learn that? You still didn't learn that?
Yeah,
And
it's the
it's okay. It's okay. But have you ever noticed that with people and with your own self? I know with my own self, it's like, oh yeah, now I get it. I'm done.
It's there's literally a term for it. It's the repeat it until you repair it scenario.
Yes.
And we think of karma as rewards or punishments, but it's not. It's lessons, again, to lead us
Yeah.
to our highest self. And until such time as you learn lessons, why people think they have the same relationship over and over again.
Mm,
It was great for 6 months and then it turned awful. It's like, well, does that follow any patterns?
yeah.
And one of the things that I heard around that was, is he your type or is he your pattern? And like, this is not gendered. This is not gendered.
No,
And
it's anything.
it
Yeah.
genuinely is. It's
Could be
anything.
friendships too.
Friendships,
Yes.
situations where we forget that workaholism that is so prized in hustle culture is still a form of addiction.
Yes.
And addiction will do nothing but deplete you in the long run. So people can have all the money in the world and absolutely no personal happiness when they dedicate their lives to work in a way. We need a balanced existence. And we're
Yeah.
always trying to seek balance between our darkness and our light. And like I've said this in other podcasts, and the easiest way to understand it is that there are a certain a finite number of fateful occurrences in your life, which is before you even get here, there's a
Yeah.
curriculum basically that you're handed. You want to learn this, you want to learn about that. It could be independence, it could be
Yeah.
how to simplify your life so that money isn't important. It could be so many different things relating to our generational trauma, which is basically synonymous with generational curses.
Yeah.
Before you get here, you know that these are the challenges, the lessons that I will face. So maybe you have 10 of those within a lifetime. But your life is filled with literally millions of choices, billions, trillions.
Yes.
Maybe it's an infinite number. Every single day you get up, you decide coffee or tea. That might be an instance of choice. Now, is it a fateful one? No, that's free will things. Most of the things that go into constructing our world, our reality, are within free will. Like they have almost no
Yeah.
true impact on our fate. But things like the jobs you take, the places you move, the relationships you have, anything that there are 7 chakra points in our energy meridian down our spine that I've already done the 7 enlightenment podcasts that talks about the lesser attachment or the spirit attachments with each of them. One of the easiest ones might be on your heart chakra, which is for love. The opposite energy of that is fear. And so you might have multiple situations that are brought to you where you are being asked to face something that you are
Hmm.
afraid of, to go forward with trust in your own abilities, with trust in your own guidance to resolve a fear attachment. So a
Right.
situation might be repeating over and over again, but the choice is always yours. The choices you can actually go through your entire life and give the finger to fate over and over again. No, I'm doing this. I'm in service
Yeah.
of my feelings of protecting rather than growing, which people do. And it's not a judgment. We've all done it. We've
We have.
literally all done it. There are so many different theories in physics about our reality, including the many worlds scenario, where each choice that you make creates a different reality, and that there are infinite numbers of realities for every single person. And that might be one of the ways in which, well, if you don't believe in reincarnation, where we come back life after lifetime, that might be one of the ways in which it functions. That if you get to the end of a life where you made every choice in service of your darker energy, of your shadow side, then you get to the end of that life, you reset, you go back, and you're given another chance to do it.
Yeah.
That is one of the theories around fate. Now, the same thing happens with when we talk about reincarnation. If you believe in past lives where you were an Egyptian scribe type of thing and you were learning different things, that also means that you could have a whole lifetime where you make every single choice in service of protecting your shadow side rather than embracing it, healing it, and sometimes releasing it. And then you would then have, at the end of that lifetime, you would have another lifetime.
Yeah.
So the goal between making the highest self choice in a fateful occurrence over and over again is not about worthiness. It's not about, you are judged as being pure. It is the best energy that you can possibly achieve within this lifetime. And so and there are certain things, is fate always avoidable? No. I've also said that the universe will literally blow up the bridge you are
Yes.
standing on in order
Yep.
to save you from a worse fate. And like
Yeah.
that was present in a marriage that I had to leave behind. Was like there was a point at which it all blew up so spectacularly. It is actually a little bit funny. That's not my trauma chuckle. It is like, yeah, it was pretty spectacular because I had made a soul contract to help other people with their trauma. And I was
Mm.
about to miss pretty much my last exit if I didn't, because I turned it down many years ago when somebody told me I was a shaman and I needed to go train as a shaman, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it for a bunch of reasons that have to do with resolving all that trauma I was talking about. So it circled back to me and circled back to me and circled back to me until such point as like, this is the last opportunity you will have in this lifetime to follow this path. And your soul really, really wants you to follow this path. And
Yeah.
we need to remember our spirit guides are always working with our choices, not the other way around. But if we ask for their intercession,
Yes.
then they can block us on things. The thing I
Yeah.
was like alluding to, which we won't go too deeply into, with Rachel and I this morning, had to do with I was about to do something that was ill considered, considering some work that I've done, and my guides were really kind of frantic with the cards that they were giving to me, and I kind of assumed that they might have caused a power failure or something to spare us both exposure to. I had done multiple forms of a demonic entity removal this month, and I didn't think about how you have to wait a full moon cycle to have everything clear, and it would have been exposing Rachel to some things and me to some things if we had followed through on a plan that we had earlier, and we ditched it
Yeah.
instead to do the podcast. So that's like the oblique, what happens when you start turning down the wrong path?
Yeah.
Are you just screwed? No, your guides will try to throw up every form of roadblock if you're connecting to them and asking for your
Yeah.
guidance.
Or
If
your
you're not,
angels.
then you're a little bit like, we try, but you ignore every sign. And like they have to get loud with me sometimes, and or because I'm very, 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 very strong-willed. And
Yeah.
so is Rachel. Rachel, do you have any instances where you kind of felt like you could feel the like something's trying to guide my choices? It can't make them for me, but it really is like screaming at me, don't do this,
Yes.
don't do that, don't do the other thing.
I will say that I find that in times of where maybe it's just overwhelm. Like I this and I've shared this with Alane and probably on previous episodes that we've done together. Like this year has been really hard. And it's been mentally hard. It's been a mentally and emotionally hard year. A lot of transitions, a lot of change. And I do feel like coming out of it now, I feel so much more hopeful for the next year, which I'm super excited about. And I do feel like I had to go through a lot of these things, but it's brought me back to basics and connecting with my guides and connecting with my angels. And I will just, it's something as simple as just please, and I pray a lot, please God, just give me a sign that you're with me and that things are going to be okay. Because sometimes you just need a gentle nudge. And I wish I had it here, and it must be in my car. But one of the days I go to a grocery store to get coffee some days of the week. And one of the days I just looked and I was praying, God, angels, universe, please hear me. Please give me a sign, something simple. And I kid you not, a little tiny angel was on the ground. And I'm like, thank you. That's all I needed. That's all I needed. And honestly, that little angel,
Little
like
figure.
really little tiny figure. And I think it popped off somebody's button or something like that. Like, and now I'm just like, thank you. And when I have my little down days and I just need a little oomph in my energy, I pick that little angel up and I'm like, thank you. Thank you. And it just really helped me to realize, like, okay, I'm not alone. Because sometimes in these, in the winter, or doesn't even matter, we might feel like we're alone. And we have free will, like you said. Like I can choose to ignore the signs. I can choose to not be part of my path. I can choose to do whatever the hell I want, but I do feel like my guides, angels, and team are always like, okay, Rachel, you need a sign. And that was my sign. And ever since then, it's like I've been on the lookout for signs because I do feel like we need these gentle nudges from divine or whatever you believe in to remind us that we are here for a greater purpose. Like we are here for healing of the collective consciousness or whatever it is. We're a cog in the wheel, whatever it is that you feel that you believe that you're part of. I believe I'm here to be part of the collective consciousness to bring healing, to whomever that desires it, that wants to get a healing from me or from whoever, but I need gentle reminders that it's okay. And it really I'm going to segue off this other path. This year, I kind of got off my healing, my role as a healer. I really did. I was like, I'm good. I don't need to do this, I don't know why I did that, but I did. I was like, in the past 2 months, I was like, oh, wait a second, Rachel, this is what you trained for. And now it's coming back, cause I'm an energy healer. That's at my core. I love energy healing. And now I'm like, but I know that that's part of my fate is to be a healer, and I have to acknowledge that. And I have to say, okay, it's okay. But it's interesting how we put things on the shelf to go back to. Like, I was like, I'm good. Honestly, the whole year, I only did like maybe 3 healings. But now I'm back, guys. I'm back, Alane.
And so we need to talk a little bit about that, how it's not like a straight path, no
No,
matter
it's
what
not.
you're following.
You meander a lot.
You really do. And that's also working with our choices, because you would
Yeah,
have the right not to go back to being an energy healer, or not to do your
I
own
totally
healing.
agree.
And would that then mean that there was no way for you to learn your lessons within this lifetime? Hey, guess what? I don't get to know that part. Like
Yeah,
it's possible that like it would have resolved in a different way. The lessons would have been brought to you in a different way.
yeah,
It's possible that it would have resulted in that reset that we were kind of talking
yeah.
about. There are endless possibilities in how we learn our lessons. And that's one thing I really need everybody to understand, is that there is no one answer here.
No, there's not. Oh my
There are
gosh. Ain't
so
that the
many different
truth?
answers.
Yes,
And so
yes.
it's possible that even had you stayed on the path of like, I don't want to do this anymore because you don't have
Right.
free will, that they would have just been up there going, we need a new strategy to bring you in. Like,
The
right?
nurse needs to back to
The
nursing.
being is not on that path any longer. We need a team meeting. Like, how are
And
we
then
gonna
my soul would probably meet them up in, in dream time, and we would have a committee meeting. And then Rachel would be like, okay, this is what she's doing now. Like, I do believe, like, we are co-creators too on this path. Like, we have fate, but we need to be a willing participant in achieving that mission of our destiny. Like, you have to co-create together in tandem, hand in hand. It's not just like, I'm gonna sit on the couch and my soulmate, hey Rachel, I'm here for you. Like, that's not how it works, guys.
And that's also a very, very good point, is that like we have to meet everything halfway. But
Yes.
there isn't just one way to do this.
No,
They're
there's so many
able
different
to
ways.
adapt, we're able to adapt, and then all the spiritual forces, we want to be very 3D, cut and dried, black and white. It's like if you can't see, you can't touch it, it's not real. It's not how this works. And we have
No.
a lot of things in our reality now that are indicating that like there's just more going on than we want to think of in the 3D. We want it to be simplistic, and it's actually incredibly complex. And where there
Yes.
is complex, there is sophisticated planning. And so there is an ability to have a different path available to you if you're like, I'm shutting that door. And I
Mm.
use myself as an example after a series of like, shared about my childhood, very, very toxic, no way to emerge from it healthy, had to do a lot of healing resolution. Not that unusual. Lots and lots of people go through these things. And only 2% of people fully heal. And so I'm lucky enough to keep being in the 2% by the choices that I make. That doesn't make
Right.
me superior in any less in any way. It's just that I had very determined guides because of the path that I had committed to before I ever came here. So that's part of
Yeah.
it. But that there are many different ways for your life to turn out. And
Yeah.
in that bad relationship dynamic that I was raised in, I then had a series of relationships that reflected the dynamic in which I was raised in, where I had to choose to become better and have better judgment for myself and for others. After a divorce, I quite frankly was like, I'm not going to date again until I'm absolutely sure that I'm healed. When I was absolutely sure I was healed, I was like, but I'm happy and I'm okay.
I
And
love
if like
that.
I meet the perfect person tomorrow, okay, but I'm certainly not going to look for him. But I had not learned key ways to protect myself from someone who was trying to exploit me, which is what happened in the past relationship,
Yeah.
where, if it's a narcissist empath paradigm, and please remember, people can have narcissistic traits without having narcissistic personality disorders. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody. Just saying when this person, as he relates to relationships, he's incredibly narcissistic about, he will only have relationships with people he thinks will benefit him. And he literally told me that as we were breaking up. That was something that came out through a relationship that he was having. The person told me that he had said this, and I was like, he wouldn't say that. I said it to him, and he had said it. It was like, oh, okay, well, that's an interesting perspective on you that I would not have guessed.
Yeah.
But I didn't learn how to protect myself against the red flags that other people would throw off. Since I wasn't having romantic relationships, they kept coming to me in professional settings. And the most recent one that I've talked about on my Patreon a little bit, and if this person is listening, listen, this person stalked me, so I have absolutely no compunction about, I'm not going to tell you what was in the reading, but I'm going to tell you what they did. It was a male client. He's never been on camera, so I could not recognize him in public. I could have
Yeah.
walked by him this morning and I would not know, because I read people primarily online, and we do it via Zoom meetings. And Zoom meetings, both parties can be on camera, or, somebody can choose not to be. Every single time I read it for him, he chose not to be. And he was putting incredible amounts of pressure on me to see him in person. It got, my skin was crawling by the time it was over. And I kept telling him to go away. Finally, I read him twice, and I was like, I'm not the reader for you. I gave him a referral to somebody else. He kept circling back saying, you thought you might be doing in-person readings again, because I was at home with my dog Oscar, who was dying, and I wasn't doing them in person for a while. As soon as that time period was up, even though I had literally told him, please go away,
Yeah.
he messaged me, putting pressure on me once again to be alone in a room with him. And please think about how creepy that really is. And when I read for him, he would not stop talking about what I looked like, and all. It was really creepy. He messages me on my private line. I never gave him my telephone number. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did to get my private telephone number, but he did. He messaged me the last time on that, and I finally just let him have it. And like, do not contact me again. You're going to be blocked on
Yeah.
all forms of platforms. And like, I really will consider legal action if you don't leave me alone. So
Goodness.
he's gone. He's gone. But that was somebody who was very, very, very obviously like trying to do something incredibly creepy. And I wouldn't like it's not really a fearful thing. It was more that like I didn't want to have the conflict. I wasn't firm enough the first three times it happened.
Yeah.
So it circles back for a fourth time. And I wasn't afraid of him at all when I saw that
Yeah.
message. I have spoken about the fact that like I had to struggle with resolving a tendency towards having a really big temper. It's genetic. It got in my way. I've long since resolved it. I took one look at that message on my private cell phone, realized there is no way in hell I gave that man my number.
No.
And I
Yeah.
got so mad that I'm sure a village on the other side of the world burst into flames. I was that mad.
Yeah.
And like he hasn't bothered me since. But that's an instance and an example of how your lessons will circle back to you, because I had to learn to be self-protective, whether it was in romantic relationships and friendships or in a professional setting, in order to have any form of success that somebody else wouldn't exploit. And I'm not going to go into the story that we were talking about, but we were just talking about somebody being exploited it's neither of us, in a professional setting by somebody that they couldn't
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
And that there are magical influences behind that, but you do not need to, like, it's not always. It's just the world that we live in, that people will try and take advantage of other people, and we have to learn how to be self-protective. So
Yeah.
even though I had chosen to stop having romantic relationships that would protect me the most from somebody who might be out to misuse my heart, my feelings, my love, my gifts, quite frankly, because my ex-husband really did, um, that I had to learn it regardless in order to be able to walk freely through this land in command of my own power. And so it came back to me. And there is actually, I'm going to tell the story of how this person came into my life, because it shocked the living crap out of me. It was a fellow healer, somebody she's fairly new to, I'm not going to in any way and to give any clues as to her identity, was texted me one day and said, hey, do you do work in this particular area? And I said, yeah, I do. And she said, good, I have a client to refer to you. I was like, yeah, give him my number. That's the guy. He got referred to me. And so when the first time I thought it was a friend's client, and he is a friend's client. The first time I read for him, I like got back to her. I was like, man, he was really inappropriate with me. And she's like, yeah, he's really inappropriate with me too.
Hello.
You don't refer somebody like that to your friends. You tell them,
No.
I don't know a soul who does that. And by the way, I'm closing my business and you're fired as a client, or whatever else you have to do. But
Yeah.
she didn't know that part. She's not able to protect herself. And so she passed him on to me. And in the end, I was grateful, because I really needed to get past the point of feeling threatened by somebody like that and into the, oh, I will burn your village down with my mind mentality. Because like, there's no doubt that man is not coming anywhere near me. I think I went as far as to tell him, hey, listen, my neighbor who's really, really fond of me has every gun in the world. So I really would leave me alone.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I was so mad. I was so mad that I said things that were probably Not entirely necessary, but we're not abusive. I just really let him know, take one more step towards me and it will be one of the last ones you take in any form in this world, and not threatening his physical life. I was just like, yeah, don't do this. Stop, 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 stop. And I
So
still don't know how he
inappropriate.
got my personal number. But that's how things will return to you. You
Yes.
get free will, you get to make your choices. My choices being like, I'm not going to date. I'm happy, I'm good. I didn't want to date at first because I didn't feel I was well enough, because I was recovering from someone who had been triggering a trauma disorder in me on purpose over and over again. And, people do that because they're trying to keep your boundaries weak and to
Hmm.
make you feel helpless and powerless around them. And so I was aware of that. And as like I became more and more like, substantially powerful, I realized it's like, well, the easiest way to protect myself from somebody having that kind of access to me is to simply remain single, and I'm happy. I'm self-entertaining. I have good friendships and connections with people. I grew up with so little, I was so isolated as a kid that it doesn't bother me. And
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, that's the easiest way to do that. And the universe was like, but you still need to learn the lesson.
Yes.
And so they kept bringing it back to me. And that is how fate can work with your free will, meaning that you can say no to anything, but it will come back to you. And you could be saying no to it until the end of time in your lifetime, and it will keep coming back to you because it's the 10 fateful occurrences in your life. Now, how does that work with soulmates and everything? First of all, you have to resolve all of your karmic relationships before your real soulmate comes to you.
Yeah.
That like you have to heal your stuff, you have to be in alignment with your highest self to meet your actual divine partner. And that is that's why we all have to do our shadow work before we're our most powerful form. And the stuff that I was trying to get away from by not having romantic relationships was part of my shadow side, was part of my shadow side. So that was part of the work that I had to do. And because I wouldn't do it through romantic relationships, the universe just sent me like the world's, like, I would say, creepiest dude. Like, he was really creepy. The whole fact that
Yeah.
like I really could have been standing beside him outside in public and not known
And
it
not
was
even
it
know.
really just made my hair stand on end.
Yeah.
Um, and I could not say that there was no chance that he was doing that because he clearly stalked me somehow.
Yeah. If he had your personal phone number, that's
Yeah, it's like that
terrible.
he shouldn't have had that information. So he clearly did something that he shouldn't have in the first place, which is a boundary thing anyway.
Yeah.
So that's how it works, is that you have these lessons, you have your curriculum, you have your lesson plan, and your guides will, first of all, you have to try and have a practice of interacting with them. We should probably talk about a few things of like, well, how do I get in touch with my guidance if the darn thing's just going to keep coming back to me? Because we do need guidance learning our lessons. And please don't think of that as being like inferior or ignorant. It really is that there's no shame in ignorance, by the way. There's shame in choosing to remain ignorant, but shame being a very loaded term. And let's put it on the table,
Yes.
that one.
Yes. That's a
There
very
is
loaded term.
no fault. There is no fault in being ignorant of something. We all are until we learn something. The
Yes.
fault, or the thing that holds us back, is when we refuse to learn a lesson
Yes.
because it's uncomfortable, it's difficult, or it's challenging. Almost everything that makes us grow is challenging. And
Yes.
that's the thing that you have to remember. And we're never really done. As you described with the I want to, I'm not doing this any longer type of thing. I think I'm done with this. It's like it just would have circled back to you in a different form to make
Totally
you
agree.
confront the things that you needed to heal. Do you have anything like that in your own life?
Yes. I want to go to I want to go to the practice of connecting with your guides or your angels or your
Sure.
team. I do think that's so important. And I think it's as simple as just having a conversation.
Hmm.
And, it's as simple as, I just want to connect with my guides. Give permission that, yes, my angels, please come to me now. Like something just as basic as that. And maybe you have a journaling practice or, anything that you feel connection. Like, Alane uses cards and I use a pendulum at times. And I have a ton of decks of cards and whatever, or crystals. I love using crystals. Whatever you feel is, sparks you up inside that you want to connect with. Try using that tool and how you can connect with something that you can't see. And maybe you can see your angels, guides, and team. I cannot. I can feel them. I know that they're with me. I'm not a visual person, which is okay. Like I think we people that are new to the spiritual realm are very and I remember myself, I'm like, why can't I see? And there's a reason why I can't see. I think it's something I've chosen. I don't want to see. Like, I don't, your girl was really scared of the ring. Okay, guys. So I don't want to see. So I do now feel like I have a lot of fairies that are with me right now, and I feel like they're coming to me a lot. So that fairy magic is always with me. Sorry. I realize I jump a lot, Alane, when I do
No
these
worries.
talks with you.
No worries.
Back to spiritual hygiene. Get to a daily practice of connecting, for your best and highest good. Make sure you ground yourself, make sure you're protected, and make sure that you're just like, okay, I'm ready. And then just connect. Like, guys, we're recording this is now, past Christmas. Did we use our guides to get better parking spots? Absolutely. And the bad shopping malls, 100%. I was like, Archangel Michael, I'm really stressed and it's Christmas Eve and I don't want to go to Target. Please help me to be calm and protect me and find a parking space. 100%. Did I have pleasant shopping trips? I did, because I used my team. I used my guides. I called in my angels. I put in my protection. And I know I'm silly to go out shopping in these crazy times, but I had to. I still needed stocking stuffers. so yes, for me, I will say I'm going to go back to repeating lessons. Have I had repeating lessons of, and I feel like it goes down to and is to self-worth, and maybe not using my voice and really having to like get on my knees with certain lessons that have really brought me down but horribly. And now I can look back on it and be like, that was a good lesson. And I'm glad I learned it then, because I don't want it to come back and be even worse. I've had devastating financial lessons that have really brought me down to my core. I've had my house foreclosed. I've been really broke, whatever. And now I'm good. But I learned those lessons and it came down to maybe I'm not worthy of money. Maybe I'm not, you know what I mean? And it's like really working on those limiting beliefs and looking at that pattern. And I truly believe that was one of the lessons that I had to come here to learn,
Mhm.
and I think it's interesting. And maybe, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm like, I wish I knew. No, I don't wish I knew. I don't know what all my lessons are going to be. I don't know. And I have to meander through this life and try to really, connect in with my higher self, live a life in alignment, live a life that, and it's not perfect. You have to be gentle on yourself and sometimes take a seat on your bench and take a moment and pause. I think that's another thing. We're always like, I gotta be perfect. We don't. We don't. This is a messy life. This is a messy life, and we're going to be messy at times. I may, I cuss a lot. That's a problem. I love it. I don't care. I think it makes me funny. I don't. But
You're also from the East Coast. I'm actually originally from the East Coast, despite the fact that I have a slight
girl,
southern.
I'm from Georgia. I'm a Georgia peach.
I'm originally from the East Coast, and every now and then a word will come out, and people like I'll say the word dog, and people can I just did it,
It's like,
and people can really tell.
yeah,
But it's there's more forthrightness, there's more swearing there as well, and I actually do
you
swear
have to be
quite a bit. I just try not
authentic.
to. It's a way of. There's actually studies been done that like the people who swear a great deal are supposed to be more trustworthy
And there's to be more
because they're not hiding
authentic.
their feelings. They're not hiding.
Yes.
So I want to revisit a couple of things that we're
Yes.
talking about, like, in more practical terms of like
Yeah.
grounding. So listen, if you don't want to do a spiritual practice, if you're like
You don't
sitting
have to.
around and, meditating and putting on meditation music and listening to chimes and bowls, and it's not my gig. Don't worry, you're not precluded from connection. All you need is a space in which your mind has a clear space. So you can take a walk without your phone. It's very important to disconnect
Yeah,
from any influencing devices every now and then so
so
that you're,
true.
you're alone with your thoughts. Take a walk, and then like if you sit down on a bench and look at a tree or watch traffic park go by, your mind is only mildly and lightly engaged, so you have a focus tool for your
Yeah.
mind, and then that creates some space for your guides to help influence your impulses and your choices. It's rarely super direct. You talked about not seeing things. I don't see things either. Now, it's interesting because I very clearly hear other people's guides, but it doesn't function like hearing somebody in the corner of the room talking to
Yeah.
me. It's really hard to explain clairvoyance and clairsentience to people and clairaudience to people who don't experience it.
Hmm.
I have to have tools out in front of me before it really works. I don't walk around hearing things all the time. I just don't. It's only when I'm working and I'm focusing on basically looking through a doorway or a window through my cards. I don't just use cards. I use cards to feel the work that I do.
Yeah,
When it
yeah,
comes to my own guidance, I remember there are a couple of things you need to remember. Your guides already know you.
true.
When you before you came here, you assembled your team, and it's like, I need you for strategy management. I need you to help me see what's important in life. I need you to help me understand love. And you will come here with a guide team, and that's just a very simplistic overview of what your guide
Yes.
team actually looks like. It's like a Cecil B. DeMille film. It's a cast of thousands whenever you need it to be. And they change at different points in your life as you learn different lessons. Other guides will recede into not silence. They're still there. You don't lose people. When we start talking about your guides change, people get upset. Like, we lose my team? No, it's just you finish their class, and then they
Yeah.
watch you as you continue towards graduation. You already know all of your guides, and you have had a soul contract with them. You can intervene on my behalf to send me the guide messages. You can even block me if I'm doing something super, super stupid, like some of the things. And by the way, when I say doing something stupid, I am not insulting my own intelligence. I
No,
can
you're not.
admit when I'm doing something foolish. And so, because sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm so strong-willed that I can be downright foolish. And I need to recognize that about myself, knowing full well that even genetically, I come from a long line of very intelligent people. It has nothing to do with thinking I'm stupid, but an action I was undertaking was a stupid one. It happens sometimes. It does not affect my relationship to self, and I'm not berating myself. So I was about to do something foolhardy or stupid, whichever you want to put it, and they started communicating with me through my cards, and I got mad because that's a lot of my go-to. It's when I'm frustrated or they're confusing. I'm like, come on, this is my work. You got to be clear. They actually were being very clear. It was something I didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
And they always have to try really, really hard. So it's that when things that are more difficult for me to hear, they use tools to communicate with me as well. But your guides have access to you because you gave them consent a long time ago. Your angels are different. You have
Yeah.
to ask for the intercession of angels, and there's a proviso with this. If you're going to say, Archangel Michael, do this, or Gabriel, protect me from that, or Uriel, do this, or Shamuel, do, or Ariel, or any of the other archangels that you might be working with, or any of the angels, you are ceding your free will to the angelic realm. And that is actually what happened with my whole world blowing up, is that I invoked, and I've told the story in the mishaps and mayhem, like magic episode I did, where the things that I've done wrong. I invoked archangels galore to try and protect me. And when I did that, I was basically saying, yours, hot potato, take this one. You got to do something with it. I'm going to die if you don't hurry up. And they did hurry up. But when you invoke angels, angels are not human. They are not human, and they don't
Right.
play by the same rules. And so they really will be like, we got to blow that up. We got to burn that down. We're going to make her lose that job, that relationship. They will get it done as expediently as possible. But miracles can be a rough ride. People
Mm.
think of miracles as beautiful rainbows and fluttery angels and butterflies and angelic. It can be, I lost my job and I lost my house, because
Yeah.
keeping them was keeping me locked in a degrading energy where I was willing to work myself to a nub in order to keep a house. In the instance of somebody, I'm not saying that's what happened to you, but that's why somebody might lose their house to foreclosure, but it's an angelic action.
Yeah.
Because what we think is good for us and what is actually good for us is not necessarily the same thing. Your
It's so
guides are
true.
always working with your free choice. Help me make the good choices. And we can ignore them. We can ignore them out the wazoo. When you're invoking angels, then that's why I was telling Rachel, like, if I hadn't listened, I think that would have caused a power failure, because I
Yeah.
invoked angelic protection.
Yeah.
The angels will be like, okay, well, you've had your chance, cut the power, or whatever else it might mean, in order to keep you safe.
True.
When
It's
you
true.
invoke angelic protection, when you are asking for divine intervention, you are handing the reins of the horse that you are riding down this particular path. Here, guide this, take care of it. I cede my free will for this particular instance. You will get it back. But if you've ever wondered why I asked for help, I did this, I did that, and everything went catastrophically wrong, it's because what you had your sights on was not the right thing for you. And it
Yeah.
can be very difficult. And that's an ego thing. And we all get there sometimes. We really do all get there. Um, that we can want to retain things, we can want to possess things, we can insist that a particular relationship is the right relationship for us, all kinds of things that are not in our best interest because our wounds are the things that are influencing what I need to make the pain stop. That's often what influences our ego, what you think you need to make whatever pain you're in stop. Whereas the angelic realm and your spirit guides, which can work together, are all like, we're trying to make sure that you heal everything so you're not in pain anymore. So you don't have the needs. Instead, you have the path.
Yeah.
And so when you're asking for angelic intercession, you really are saying, take care of this for me. And it's whatever form it takes, I will trust that it was the best one for you. And there's a reason to consider angelic intercession, even if you're like, ah, no, I want what I want, leave me alone. Which you can make that choice. And again, do we know what
Yeah.
happens? No, there are a multitude and endless possibilities of how those answers come. So it's not a judgment thing. It's just you would get to make that choice, and how it develops for you might be your own thing. But when
Yeah.
we ask the angelic realm to intercede on our behalf, we are saying, I want to be in alignment with my highest self, with my divine self, and to walk the highest path that I can in this life to become the best version of myself that I can
Hmm.
be. But that doesn't mean an easy path. In fact, it will usually have a lot of challenges, as in the case of, and I'm going to call myself out here again, and I'm not like, I don't like myself because it's like, no, I recognize that that is one of my pitfalls as my very strong personality. I thought I really had solved the problem when it came to like, oh, I won't have relationships. It's like, well, it's going to come back to you even if you don't want it there.
Yeah.
And it came back to me and sincerely, oh God, I cannot describe, like even thinking about it is making the back of my neck tingle and the hairs on my arms stand up because it was that creepy to me. It actually is making me feel a little sick even thinking about it. It was that creepy to me. So a full-blown predator was trying to get to me through my work.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to be like, get the hell away from me, predator, in order just to be safe in a world where when you have gifts, and everybody has their own gifts, it may not be in this realm. Everybody has something that they're gifted in. It can be just being the world's best cook or something. It's
Yeah.
This isn't handed out on merit. It is handed out on what you've already learned and what you're still trying to learn.
Yeah.
So if you have gifts that other people will try to exploit because of the nature of people, because of the shadow side influences as well, then you have to learn to protect yourself. Even if mine had only come to me through personal relationships, it was a lesson I had to learn. And do I think I've learned it? Yeah, I'm really good about firing clients. And they come to me in both genders, by the way, of people who like try to be belittling or something. I've fired as many clients as I need to thus far and will continue to do so because it's not worth it to have that income. Debasing myself on any level is not worth the income. And that was a
Completely
lesson
agree.
I really, really had to learn as well, which relates back to the romantic relationships I was talking about, where I was primarily because I had had such an insecure and unstable life growing up that I wanted a relationship for security so much that I would get to the point where I would ignore and ignore and ignore and ignore and ignore poor treatment. And like over the course of time, I really had to come to confront like how much my ex-husband likely cheated on me because of how much I trusted him when I shouldn't have. And I don't know that for sure. I only know about a few instances. I don't know about the full picture. It actually does not trouble me. It does not
Mm.
trouble me. It's all in the past. But the lesson had to be learned because people can cheat and exploit you all the way outside of romantic relationships. And you and I were
Oh,
talking about something
yes.
having to do before we got on here.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it does not have to be a super spiritual thing. You do not have to be praying. You do not have to be getting on your knees before anything. You don't
No.
have to do what I do, which is I use divination tools. I use magic where I have an altar. I also meditate.
Yeah.
I do spiritual cleansings all the time. So I do a huge range of things, but I do this professionally. If you're just looking for the guidance you need, you can go to people like Rachel or
Hmm.
myself who can help look into your cards and see what you need to know. Or you can also, and it can be an and, it doesn't have to be an either or. If you wish to try and connect more to your guidance, the first step is asking for it. The
Yeah.
second step is to be aware of what pops into your mind that you are rejecting, because that is quite frequently denying that which does not fit the narrative we are trying to rewrite is a very big
Yeah.
thing. Like all of the denial that I was in around a long-term relationship reflects that. Is I just wouldn't see it, and it was right in my face. Now I can be like, oh wow. I
Yeah.
had like a wall of denial, and from this perspective, I can see it all very, very clearly. But I couldn't at the time because I wanted security more than I wanted almost anything else. Not money, security, because
Yeah.
I lived an incredibly insecure life with like not having a water heater for 2 years and all kinds of weird crap. I won't go into the length and the breadth of it. It was a lot. But
Yeah.
there was a reason I emerged from my childhood with that being my primary goal in life was find safety. But while
Absolutely.
trying to find safety, I was ignoring all forms of emotional peril. For the physical safety, I was imperiling myself emotionally tremendously. And so the lesson around how it will never be worth it to imperil your emotional safety for physical safety, security, home, hearth, that type of thing, came back to me when I stopped having romantic relationships. And am I anti them? No, I'm not. I really I knew that because my ex-husband had exploited my PTSD, that I needed to make sure people couldn't trigger me on purpose before I would ever be safe around anybody ever again. When I got to that point, that was when I had to evaluate, do you like your life now? Are you happy? Do you feel it's full? Do you feel in full? And like, why would you want another relationship? And it's like, well, it would have to be really pretty much the perfect person. And let's face it, I'm a little odd. So what are the chances I'm going to meet this person on OkCupid? Not very high. So I didn't want to look for it because also opening your like chasing something is another way to get the wrong thing. Sit
Absolutely.
and wait for what is meant for you. If you don't like to meditate, if you don't like spiritual practices, pay attention to what I just said. Sit and wait and listen. Ask and then put yourself in a set of circumstances where you do not have your phone dictating what's going on. You do not have music. You do not have anything other than sitting with yourself. In order to get better access to your guidance, you need to be in conjunction with your highest self, which is contained within your inner world. And it does not, there's actually been a study that long-term meditation can cause all kinds of reality-based problems anyway. People who meditate for an hour, 2 hours a day, they actually don't think that's good for the majority of people. I read a study on it. Eventually, I will do a podcast on meditation. Um, to access your inner world, you need 5 to 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. You don't need
You don't, it
hours
does,
upon
it's not
hours.
carving out chunks of your day where all
No.
of your time is dedicated to something not of this world. And if you do not want to sit and breathe and focus, you can, I did a how to meditate without, or how to receive your guidance, your third, open your third eye without meditation podcast already as well. You use focus tools. But what you want is a focus that does not feed your forward looking energy.
Mm.
Rather, you're in the here and the now. So, people watching can do it, sitting in parks, sitting at home, alone, examining a painting in your home, anything. You can look at a book cover. That's the other thing that I talked about, where it's a focus within the here and the now creates the space that you can receive guidance within. But you have to ask for that help. And again, if you invoke archangels, if you invoke angels at all, you are saying, get it done however you need to. They're expedient. Now, there are things you can use as a tool to help soften that blow. For instance, when I was like, protect me, I don't care what it takes, I probably should have said, make it as gentle as possible, which I didn't.
Yes.
And it wasn't gentle. It wasn't gentle for anyone concerned. It was a wild, wild roller coaster ride of a thing that went on for a while. But it tapped into COVID for timing to give me extra space to heal and all kinds of things. So I can see from the, by the way, looking backwards, you can quite frequently see where you've had guidance, where you've had help. And at the time, you
Absolutely.
can be like, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. And then 4 years later, you can be like, and yet I learned things that are excellent and helpful in the here and the now.
100%.
Anything
Yeah.
to add on this one, Rachel?
No.
I always do that to you. And then I'll
No,
probably
I
do it
mean,
5 more
no,
times.
no, I think this was an interesting discussion for sure. And I think fate and free will are definitely they're a meandering path that you work on together. And I liked your idea of, of a practice and really like just tuning within, listening within, and what is rubbing against you that maybe you need to look at a little bit deeper.
There are 3 household chores that I want to bring everybody's attention to because most of them do it, that you are most likely to be in the space that I'm talking about. If you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to sit and people watch, Guess what? I help adapt all kinds of people to find the way to do it for them.
Yeah.
When you are unloading a dishwasher, when you
Yep.
are folding laundry, and when you are vacuuming.
Yes. Sweeping
So,
for me is a big one.
yep, you're
Yeah.
improving a situation. You're
Yeah.
improving a situation, so you're in that right energy, and you're doing something that is not intellectually engaging.
Yeah. That's a big one. Dusting. Dusting.
Blessing. So housework can work as well. I
Yeah.
used to open eye meditation all the time while I was lifting weights, where a lot of the time I usually watch TV when I'm working out. But on the rare occasions that I'm not, when the internet's down or whatever,
Yeah.
that is one of the best spaces for me too, because a part of you is trying not to focus on what you're doing in the here and the now too much. It's like count the reps, and that can also, it's not super overt sometimes. What you will notice is that you just have a better idea what to do afterwards than when you started.
Yeah.
The
I
other,
always, okay.
so there's two other spaces to pay
Yeah.
attention to. If you wake up in the middle of the night, the first thought that pops into your mind is frequently your intuition trying to talk to you about an area that you want to focus on. You always want to shut down the mind chatter. I've been teaching clients this recently. It can very much help when you wake up in the middle of the night and your brain starts turning on. That's the perfect time for affirmations.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Program your subconscious mind. So I'm
Yeah.
healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm whatever it might be that you're working on with. I'm good, I'm worthy, I'm whatever it might be, whatever it is you're working on. That gives your brain a thought to repeat that is beneficial for you. But the very first thing that pops into your mind is the thing that you are, information is trying to be brought to you about it. When you wake up in the first thing in the morning as well, that is another particularly receptive space. If you can just lie there underneath the covers without going back to sleep and just breathe in and out, that is a particularly receptive space too. The snooze alarm for a lot of people is the perfect time to, because you don't want to wake up. You
Yeah.
don't want your brain to turn on. You want to just be, I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep. Pay attention to anything that might be crossing your mind. And your
Yeah.
dream world, by the way, often brings you the information about what you're trying to heal in your shadow world. So pay
True.
attention not to the specifics of the dream, but to the emotional tenor of the dreams.
Yeah.
Because if you're angry, if you're frustrated, if you're fearful, if you're in survival mode a lot in dreams, or if you have trouble expressing your feelings, which is a big, big one for me. All of that trauma had me repressing my feelings. A big part of the work that I've been doing in the last 5, 6 years is learning how to voice my feelings even just to myself. And I
Mm.
used a completely wackadoodle tool. It worked like a dream. I don't have to do it any longer. But at first, I would just record myself on voice memo talking about how I felt about my day.
Oh, I like that.
Because I did not, my natural state was emotional repression. And so I had to learn, and to ever have good relationships and friendships in professions, or if I ever decide to have another romantic relationship or the universe ever brings me one, I would have to be able to talk about what I was really feeling.
Yes.
So it made me connect to that part of me. I would say it, and then I would delete the memo, the voice memo, which is another, like, it's a symbolic form of releasing. So it's almost like a magic practice. Please remember, magic is not just about lighting candles. And like, if you go to my Instagram or to my community page on YouTube, you see a lot of examples of spells. Magic exists in the moment to moment in the symbolic things that we do. Almost anything that you do symbolically contains a form of magic. People who go to church, they do not realize. I'm sorry to chuckle on that one. That's not a trauma chuckle. It's an irony chuckle. It's like, yeah, they really don't get it. They're enacting a form of spell.
Yeah.
Communion is very much a form of magical spell. And there's a lot of magic within a lot of the ritual and pageantry, particularly in places like the Catholic, the Presbyterian, the Episcopal Church as well.
Mm.
So there are all kinds of ways in which you can enact rituals about connection that don't involve stepping into a church. If you enter, if you're like, yes, today is the day that I'm cleaning, I'm going to keep myself in as peaceful as a state. By the way, one of the most blocking energies when we're trying to get our answers is anything happening? Is anything happening? Is it working? Is it working?
Oh, desperation energy. Yeah.
You let go of that part. Like,
Yeah.
you will know
Let it
when it's
go.
working. And sometimes it gets a little bit to get into the groove, but find your way of trying to ask for your answers. And then this is a hard one, because what Rachel and I have been talking about, like the things that will block us, the things that deny us, the things that we want, can make us feel victimized and unloved and like nothing cares.
Yeah.
And it's always trying to work in our highest good. The challenges that are brought to us are the things that are trying to help us rise above some circumstances sometimes. So if you've had some calamity in the past, and most of us have, recognizing that it's not that it was done to you for your own good. That's not what it means. I also tell people not everything happens for a reason, but everything that happens contains a lesson.
Yes.
Look backwards over what went wrong in your life, and it's like, what am I trying to learn from that? What was it trying to teach me? If
Yeah.
you're always hooking up with the wrong people because they cheat, they lie, they exploit, then you're not very good at seeing who people really are yet. And you have to hone your focus on being able to see people not as you wish them to be, but as they really are. And that was a big one for me.
Yeah.
And particularly because of what I do, because when I look in somebody's cards, I see the best person that they can be. I had to really struggle with that in personal relationships, understanding that not everybody's going to walk that path. And releasing any animosity or hostility around what has happened in your life is one of the most healing things you can do. And instead be like, what's this been trying to teach me? What do I
Yeah.
need to know from this? Because that's your guide team.
Yeah. I like that.
And when you learn, you make better choices. And when you make better choices, you have a life that feels better. And my life is happier and healthier and more successful in absolutely every way that truly matters in how I feel. I have materially less, but that works for me. I don't mind that part.
Yeah.
That part got me in touch with the idea of enjoying what I do have, enjoying being able to manage absolutely everything in my life and being able to find happiness in very simple things. And will it ever increase? Probably. It'll probably increase because we are, if you value abundance in a more luxurious form, it will come to you after you learn your lessons. So fate and free will, they sound like they cancel each other out, but they don't. You just have to understand that your fate always keeps trying to come back to you. And your
Yeah.
free will is what makes you choose whether you will follow your fateful higher path or the path that has you repeating your lessons,
Yeah.
like you're repeating a grade. Now, that makes it sound like there's failure on the line. There isn't. Like I said,
No.
we don't know what happens when somebody continually says no to their lessons. They can still learn through and still grow through a different series. But the
Yeah.
easiest path, the path of least resistance, is to examine who you are, the choices you have made without judgment of self.
Absolutely.
What happened to you as a person formed a great deal of who you are. That was another thing, all the research that I do finally illustrated. Every single thing I've ever struggled with in my life is actually a known trauma symptom. That it wasn't a personality flaw, that it's not like I was made wrong. It's like, oh no, somebody broke you inventively and in every single possible way.
Mm.
And it's reliably predictable through peer-reviewed research as to what it will result in. And
Yeah.
that can be a hurdle to clear as well, because it's like, I'm not even me. No, you're you. It's just that you have there's a you that exists underneath all of your trauma and damage and the things that got in your way. And that's your authentic self, and that's who your divine self is.
Yeah.
Your authentic self is your divine self. I promise this will be the only last time. Do you have anything to add, ma'am?
I do not.
All
I
right.
think what you
Thank you
said was
so much for
beautiful.
joining us today on Logical Magic Examining Esoterica. That's how fate and free will work together to bring you the best possible results. You can find Rachel at AkashicAngels.com. Her name is Rachell Garrett. She is an energy healer. She is also a divine conduit. She is also someone who I would consider a crossroads guide, who is somebody who can give you the information to help keep you on the path that is best for you. That is my main function as well. I'm Alane. You can find me at therisingmoon.com exclusively. It's the only way to book me. If anybody is approaching you in DMs, this goes for Rachel too. That's not us. There are always scammers and pretenders. Please be careful, because they will dupe people's names right down to their names. But you can usually tell it's not me because I won't try and sell you anything ever. And I really don't
Yeah.
communicate very much either. You can find me at therisingmoon.com, and you can find me at Chromecast at The Rising Moon on YouTube, where the video versions of this go up. You can find me on my Patreon, which is linked in the episode notes or the description box down below. Any place I haven't covered for you yet, Rachel?
Nope. You're
All
perfect.
right, man. Take care, be well, and enjoy 2025. Every time you learn a lesson, a new path opens up for you, and it contains magic and wonder and guidance. Take care, be well.